Gute Woche, Shavua Tov, Achai Verei, Toshevei Amsterdam, and anyone else who is being mishtatif. I have very fond memories of my short visit last year to Amsterdam, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity of coming back, although unfortunately it'll be a little shorter visit than last time. I'm grateful to Reb Shmuel Katz for organizing this, so I can share with you some divrei Torah, some hopefully divrei chizuk, which is negea to the situation that we are going through. Avraham Avinu was informed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the bris bein habesarim. He was told that Ki ger yihi yazaracho be'eretz lo Elohem va'avodum ve'inu oisam arba me'os shana. He was told that there's going to be the slavery, the affliction in Mitzrayim, until finally, v'yachrei chen yetzu b'rechush godel. Now this nevuah, this the bris bein habesarim, was given to Avraham Avinu against the backdrop of Ema chashecha gedola noifeles olov, which Chazal tell us that these four expressions of darkness represent the four golios, which teaches us that all sorrows and all golios are rooted in Shibud Mitzrayim. And all Yeshuos and all Geulos are rooted in Yetzias Mitzrayim. And there it says, Ve'achrei chen yetzu b'rechush godel. When we go through a difficult period, we are experiencing something of a microcosm of Shibud Mitzrayim. And therefore we hope that when we come to the end of it, it's not just that things will get back to normal, but will be enriched, will be energized, will have something that we never had before. Ve'achrei chen yetzu b'rechush godel. Later on, we find in this week's parsha that we just read today, Yaakov is about to go down to Mitzrayim, which is paving the way for Bnei Yisrael to be in Mitzrayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Yaakov Avinu, Onoichi, says, Al tira merdo Mitzrayim, Onoichi eirei dimcha Mitzrayim, va'onoichi a'alcho gam oloi. I will descend with you into Mitzrayim. That means I will be there with you through your suffering. V'onoichi a'alcho gam oloi. And then I will bring you out, I'll bring you up. But the expression v'onoichi a'alcho gam oloi, which sounds somewhat repetitive, the Seporno says, v'onoichi a'alcho gam oloi means it's not just that I'll take you down and I'll bring you back up again, because that would mean that we're just back to square one. We're back to where we were before. Nothing has been achieved, nothing has been gained. It's v'onoichi a'alcho gam oloi. In the words of the Seporno, it's oisif mala al ma'aloscha. You'll find yourselves in a much better place. You'll find yourselves enriched. You'll find yourselves much greater than you were before you went down. The going down to Mitzrayim was a prerequisite to something much greater, much bigger. Ve'achrei chen yetzu b'rechush godel. Rechush godel is not only in material wealth, but rechush godel the Rechush Godel, not just material wealth, the Rechush Godel is in spiritual accomplishment. Let's try to understand. Am I still being heard?
We missed you. The last thing we heard was, let's try to understand. Something happened to the connection, I'm afraid.
All right, so I'll continue now. Okay.
Yeah.
So in every golus, and in every difficult situation, there is the dimension of the Anoichi Eirei Dimcha Mitzrayim, and there is always going to be the dimension of the Anoichi Alcha Gam Olei. And so it has to be, because it would be ridiculous for someone to undergo a tzara. We say we make such an affair out of Yitzias Mitzrayim, Seder night, Tipur Yitzias Mitzrayim. And the question could be asked, what's all the fuss about? You put us into Mitzrayim, you took us out. Of course, the point has to be that it was necessary to put us in to give us the Achrei Chen Yetzer B'Chush Godel. It was necessary for the Anoichi Eirei Dimcha in order to achieve the Anoichi Alcha Gam Olei, that Rechush Godel. So here in our situation, we hear everyone talking about the fact that we just can't wait for things to get back to normal. That's what the world are saying. That's what the world are hoping. And that's what the world is praying. Let's just get back to normal. But of course, we Yidden understand, if we've been through a difficult situation, which we have been through and we are going through, we're not going to be satisfied just getting back to normal. We want to find that Rechush Godel. We want to find the Vanoichi Alcha Gam Olei. In which way have we been enriched? In which way have we been empowered by going through what we're going through? There is a point when we talk about Yitzias Mitzrayim, and as we said, every tzara is rooted in Golus Mitzrayim, and every Yeshua is rooted in Yitzias Mitzrayim. As the Yidden approached Yitzias Mitzrayim, they were given a test. This is something that the Chassam Sofer told his family and his Talmidim while sitting at his Seder table. He said an amazing thing, which is relevant then and for always. He said that the Yidden, before they would leave Mitzrayim, they had to stand a test, a challenge. And it was only by rising to this challenge, by passing this test, that they would actually qualify and be deserving of the Yitzias Mitzrayim. Without that, there could not be a Yitzias Mitzrayim. What was that test? This was the final test. The Pasuk says, "B'chatzois halayla, kachatzois halayla ani yotze b'teich Mitzrayim, u'meis kol b'choyer beretz Mitzrayim," etc. "V'hoisotza oko gedoyla b'chol eretz Mitzrayim, asher komoihu lo nihiyosa v'chomoihu lo yisoisif." There is going to be an outcry in Mitzrayim, such as the likes of which had never been heard before and will never be heard again. Then it goes into the parasha of Korban Pesach, and there it says, etc. Ve'atem lo yiseitzu ish mi Pesach beisoy ad boiker. Said the Chassam Sofer, this is a tremendous test. Imagine, you're sitting in your home, engaged in your avodas halayla of Korban Pesach, achilas Korban Pesach, and then outside you hear a himmel gishrei. You hear over there a tza'oka gedoyla that has never been and would never be heard again. Therefore, your inclination would be just to quickly get up, open your door, run to the end of your garden path, have a look to the right and to the left and see what's all the noise about. What's this eruption? What's this commotion? So you're told this is going to happen in Mitzrayim, the tza'oka gedoyla. But as far as you are concerned, ve'atem lo yiseitzu ish mi Pesach beisoy ad boiker. You don't leave your home. So the Chassam Sofer, this was a test. Who can manage that? In spite of that noise outside, that commotion outside, which is, and I want to understand, what is it? What's going on out there? And no, I stay exactly where I am. If you can pass that test, then you qualify to be a Yotzei Mitzrayim. You fail that test, you can't. And then the Chassam Sofer went on and he said, although they passed with flying colors. Indeed, they stayed in their homes, and even though there was a tza'aka gedola, but they never left their homes, they stayed where they were. And he said to his children, to his Eineklach, to his Talmidim, because I want you to know, the Geula HaAsida, as the Pasuk says, there's going to be a repeat of this situation. There's going to be a time that outside there is this Sa'aka Gedola, and we are going to be told, Ve'atem loiseitzu ish mi pesach beisoy ad boiker, and it's only those who can stand to this test who will be zoiche to be mekabel pnei Mashiach tzidkeinu. And I ask of you, he said, my children, my grandchildren, my Talmidim, I want you to be amongst those who will pass that test and be zoiche to be mekabel pnei Mashiach tzidkeinu. Those were the words of the Chassam Sofer at his Seder table. Now, although we understand the difficulty of this Nisayon, of course, we'd all be tempted when we hear this Sa'aka Gedola to have a look outside what's going on, but we don't understand the necessity of this test. Why is that so important? Why is that the decisive factor whether or not I deserve a Yetziah from Mitzrayim? So I'd like to try to understand this a little better. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We're holding now to Jarchei Kallo. The Jarchei Kallo was something which was instituted at the time of the Amiroim and those great yeshivas in Babel of Surah, Nahardop, and Pediza. And in recent times, it was revived by the Ponovitcher of Zeichet Tzadik Livrocha, where he reestablished this Jarchei Kallo idea in Bnei Brak, the idea that even those Yidden who are unable to spend all their days completely shokua in learning Torah, they are preoccupied al hamichya v'ala kalkola. But nevertheless, he said, come back and experience a yeshiva atmosphere, even if it's just for a fortnight or for 3 weeks. It'll do you the world of good. And he would always open the Jarchei Kallo program with a psicha, an opening speech. On one occasion, he said the following. He said to all those who were gathered, all those who are participating in the Jarchei Kallo program, he said to them, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, here we are, all the way through the year, we are so busy, so preoccupied in our mundane activities. We're out there in a secular world. Is coming here just for 2-3 weeks, is that really going to make a difference to our lives? That's what you're thinking, that's what you're asking, said the Ponovitcher to his audience. And he said, let me tell you a story that the Medrash brings. In Parshas Toldos, the Medrash tells us that when the Romans wanted to enter the Beis Hamikdash with the intention of destroying the Beis Hamikdash, even they, those hard-hearted Romans, were afraid to enter. They felt that there was something very special, something very holy about this place. They were scared to go in. So they called out to the Yidden, they said, we need a volunteer, someone, we want to see him go in and come out unscathed, unharmed. Then we'll have the confidence that we can go in and destroy the Beis Hamikdash. So as you can imagine, there is no Yid who's going to volunteer to collaborate with the Romans. No Yid is going to volunteer to enter the Beis Hamikdash, which is not allowed to do. And especially if it means thereby assisting the Romans to destroy the Beis Hamikdash. So no one offered. Besides one individual. Because they made a very grand offer, the Romans. They said, whoever goes in, we will allow him anything, because they knew that the Beis Hamikdash contained very, very precious vessels. Any item that you see, you can pick it up and you can keep it for yourself. Still, no one volunteered, with one exception. One individual by the name of Yossi Meshisa. He said, okay, I'll do it. And Yossi Meshisa goes into the Beis HaMikdash, and he sees the Menorah HaZohav. He goes right in. He sees the Menorah HaZohav, and he picks it up, and he brings it out. This is now my own property. When the Romans saw him carrying that Menorah HaZohav, they said, no, we didn't mean anything as precious as that. When they saw the Menorah HaZohav, said, no, that's not something which, that's not for a head yet. That's something which only, that should go for the emperor. So they said to him, you go back in, you leave the Menorah, and anything else you find, that you can keep. To which he answered, he said, Daili sheikh asties boiri pa'amacha. Bad enough that I have angered my creator once, I will not do it again. But they said, if you go back in, we'll make you more offers. They said to try to give him an incentive. Tell him that we'll relieve you of tax for 3 years. He said, no, I'm not going back in. Daili sheikh asties boiri pa'amachas. I'm not going to do it again. So they said to him, listen, if you don't take it as an offer, you'll have to take it as an order. We order you to go back in, and if you don't, you will suffer the consequences. To which he said again, enough. Sheikh Asti is beri pa'amachas. I'm not going to anger him again. I'm not going in, whatever. And it says there that they took him and they tortured him. They placed him on a carpenter's bench, and I don't want to go into the graphic details of what they did to him, but the pain was excruciating, and all as they were doing to him, which eventually cost him his life, he was crying out, not in pain, crying out, "Vayli sheikh asties boiri." Woe to me that I angered my creator. And with that, he died. The Bono Shirov said, isn't that amazing? You have over here a man, an individual, who is the lowest of the low. No other Yid was prepared to assist the Romans by entering the Beis HaMikdash. And here we have the one who is the lowest of the low, and he comes out, and he is the most lofty, the most sublime, ready to be Moisa Nefesh, to die al Kiddush Hashem. What happened? So the Ponav Shirov, Mirveisen nit vostos is 1 minute in a Beis HaMikdash. Little do we realize the impact, the influence of just being for 1 minute in a Beis HaMikdash. It can transform the lowest of the low, and it makes him the highest of the high. So he said to his participants of the Jarchei Kallo, he says, you're thinking to yourself, is it really going to make a difference? To spend 2 weeks in a yeshiva, you don't know what a transforming experience it can be, a life-changing experience it can be. That's what he said. Ad kan divrei horav. But now we ask a question. If it is true, or rather, since it is true, that being in the Beis HaMikdash has such a profound influence, and it transforms a person, even the lowest of the low, to become the highest of the high, then why did he pick up the menorah in the first place? Why did he take it out altogether? He should have left it there. He should have left it there and ran out. But he didn't. He picked it up and he brought it out. And when they said to him, you can't have it, go back in, that's when he says, no. We see over here a very important yesod. Sometimes a person is influenced very profoundly, and he himself doesn't really realize it. Something is happening. Something is changing. But he himself, he doesn't sense it yet. This Yossi Meshisa He's in the Beis Hamikdash. And something is happening. He's being infused with that Kedusha. But when does he realize? Only when he comes out. And when he stands face to face with the Romans, face to face with the enemy, with the Rishonim, then at that moment of confrontation, that moment where he sees the comparison, the contrast, who am I and who are they, that's when he realizes how he's changed. Before he went in, there was not much difference in himself and the Romans. Now that he comes out and he sees the Romans, he says, that's not me. That's not me. But it needed the contrast, the confrontation, to show him how different he is from them. And that's how we understand when the Pasuk says, L'chu vonim shimuli yeras Hashem elamedchem. And the question is, why does it say L'chu vonim shimuli? Say boy u bonim shimuli. The answer is that sometimes you only know what you've learned. You only know what you've heard. Afterwards, we can come in and we learn and we listen. We don't realize what's happened to ourselves. L'chu vonim. When you go, when you leave and you face the outside world, then you realize, hey, this is not me. L'chu vonim shimuli. This is one element in what the Chassam Sofer was saying. It's one thing to see that Sa'oko, to see and to hear that Sa'oko Gedola B'chol Eretz Mitzrayim. That's not enough. To see the Mapola of Mitzrayim, the downfall of Mitzrayim. And that means to see all that Mitzrayim considered important pale into insignificance. All that they might have believed in, the whole culture of Mitzrayim, the lifestyle of Mitzrayim, the value system of Mitzrayim, it all crumbles. To see all of that, it's not enough. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, when that happens, ve'atem lo yiseitzu ish mipesach beisoy ad boiker. I want you to see the downfall of Mitzrayim from the perspective of your own home. What's your home? What's Beisoy? Beisoy is the place where we are involved in Avodas Hashem. Beisoy is the home. That's where we're eating the Achilas Korban Pesach. That's where we are involved in our Dveikus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And from that perspective, to see the Tzok of Mitzrayim, then you really get it. Then you really realize, who am I and who are they? But it needs the contrast. In as much as we are in our home and seeing the world outside from the perspective of our homes, that makes it very clear to me where I belong and where I don't belong, what I identify with and what I certainly do not identify with. And when the Chassam Sofer went on to say, this is going to be the situation before Bias HaMashiach. There's going to be a situation that the world outside is very tempting. The world outside is very competitive. It's beckoning, it's inviting, it's seducing. And would be inclined to leave and to go for it and to become part of it. And in the worst case, to identify with it. That can only be because we are lacking the appreciation of our own homes. As long as you have your bias, and a bias means that's the place of our own Avodas Hashem. Those of us who'll be strong with our homes, then the world outside just doesn't speak to us. It doesn't compel, it doesn't invite, it doesn't beckon, it doesn't interest. Well, those are the ones who will be Zechri Mekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. What happened over here to so many of us? That we failed to appreciate the beauty, the magnificence, the sanctity of our own homes. Because we rely so much for our Yiddishkeit, for our Avodas Hashem. We rely on our Botei Midrashos and our Botei Knesias. When I go to shul, that's when I feel in touch with my Yiddishkeit. When I go to the Beis Medrash and I learn. And my children, they go to school. Later on, the boys go to yeshiva, the girls go to seminary, the younger lights go to kollel. So we rely on all those external factors. That's where our Yiddishkeit will flourish. But really, it all begins at home. All that must be at home. We can't have a contradiction between what our homes are and what those places are teaching. It's got to be, our home has got to be a microcosm, a miniature of all of that. Our homes have to be a Beis HaMedrash. Our homes have to be a Beis HaKnesset. Our homes have to be a yeshiva. Our homes have to be a seminary. Our homes have to be a kollel. It's the home. Only when we have that kind of home, then the world outside doesn't pull us away. As a result of that lockdown, we were forced to withdraw into our homes. There was no Beis HaKnesset, no Beis HaMedrash, no yeshiva, no seminary, no kollel. All we had was our home. And we were compelled to bring in or to transform our home. That our homes became the Beis HaKnesset, our home became the Beis HaMedrash, our homes became a seminary, our homes became a yeshiva. And it was then that we began to appreciate the beauty, the magnificence, the power of our very own home. When that's been achieved, we realize this is our bias. Then even if we do step out into the world, we're only stepping out physically. But essentially, emotionally, mentally, we remain at home. We go out, but we are always encapsulated in our own homes. We never leave our home. V'atem lo yiseisrim pesach beisoi ad boiker. The Rambam writes at the end of Hilchos Mezuzah, he writes, Chayev Odom lihizor b'mezuzah mipnei shucheves hakol tamid. Very important to be very meticulous in the mitzvah of mezuzah. V'chol zman sheyikonis v'yetzei. And every time a person enters his home and leaves his home, yifga b'yichud Hashem shmoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'yizkor ahavosoi v'ye'or mishnosei sh'giyosov b'havlei hazman. Every time a Yid enters or leaves his home, he passes the mezuzah, and the mezuzah reminds him. It reminds him of what's true and what's real and what's everlasting. Coming into his home, leaving his home. That it's always the mezuzah. The mezuzah is a reminder. Let's understand. What is this message? What's this reminder that the mezuzah is? The Medrash says in Parshas Lech Lecha, Vayomer Hashem el Avram Lech Lecha. Lech Lecha me'avcha, mimoradcha me'beis avicha, el ha'oretz asher areka. Amar Abrechia, lema hoya Avram Avinu doime. So what can we compare Avram Avinu? Litzloiche she'apofol simon, mukefes tzomid potil, umunachas bezovis veloy hoya reichod noidei. Avram Avinu is compared to a bottle of perfume, but the bottle is closed, it's sealed, and therefore the fragrance does not spread. It's only when you open the seal, you open the bottle, and you shake the bottle around, only then will you benefit from the fragrance of the perfume. Kaltel atzmecha mimokim lemokim v'shimcha misgadel ba'olam. Avraham Avinu was compared. Avraham Avinu he was like this bottle of perfume. Inside, within Avraham Avinu, it's all there, but the world is not benefiting from him. His fragrance is not spreading. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kallo, pick yourself up. Go from place to place. And then, and only then, Shimcha misgadel ba'olam. Then your name will be spread across the world. That's the Medrash. But when we see this Medrash, we straight away ask, doesn't that contradict what Rashi said and what Rashi says on that very posset? Says Va'gadlo shemecha, says Rashi, because haderech mema'etes es Hashem. He needed the bracha Va'gadlo shemecha because derech, being on the road, traveling, diminishes shame, diminishes the name. So we have a contradiction over here. The Medrash says, be on the derech, v'shimcha misgadel ba'olam. But Rashi says, haderech mema'etes es Hashem. How do we reconcile this apparent contradiction? Rav Dessler Zechreinu Livrocha deals with this contradiction, and he says there are two things over here. We mustn't confuse them. There is shame, the Hebrew word shame, shin mem, that means name, and there is the English word fame. Shame and fame, not only are they not the same thing, they are actually mutually exclusive. When there is fame, it compromises shame. Let's understand. Shame, he explains, the shame always depicts the essence of something. A person has his panimius, who I really am. Who I really am. Beini lebein atzmi. Shame means my essence. In order to preserve my essence, in order to develop my essence, then adarabba. Beicholoi kuloi oime kavoid. Ketev eretz odom lo sheves bayis. When I remain at home, beini lebein atzmi, then I can work on myself. I'm not thinking about what everyone else is thinking about me. I'm not playing to the gallery. It's all about being real, being true between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's shame. Like you find that there used to be tzaddikim nistorim, hidden tzaddikim, and they were called ba'alei shame. Isn't that interesting? Ba'alei shame, because shame means you're in touch with your innermost self. That's your shame. That's your essence. Fame is where you can lose your shame. Fame is then you're living for everybody else. You're trying to please everybody else. You're playing to the gallery. It's all about reputation. It's all about vos pas yeah, vos pas nicht. When we're playing to the gallery, when it's Pneihem El Ha'om, then you lose your shame. You can have famous celebrities, and the whole world idolizes them, but who are they themselves? More often than not, nobody. Where there is fame, it takes away shame. Said Rav Dessler, there's no contradiction over here. It's one of the two sides of the same coin. Avraham Avinu himself would have preferred just to remain beinoi lebein atzmoi, to be with himself, to work on himself, to develop himself, to be a true person. That's what Rashi says. Haderech, because really, if you would ask it, really, when we look at this Rashi, in which the Rashi says, Haderech mametes es Hashem, then every child asks the question, who becomes more famous? Somebody who sits within the walls of his own home and never leaves, or someone who travels the world? Who becomes more famous? What does Rashi mean when he says, Haderech mametes es Hashem? But now we understand. Fame, that's what the Medrash says. They're talking about fame. Traveling the world, of course, gives you fame, but it can diminish shame. So Baruch Hu says like this: Avram, I know you would love just to be by yourself in the privacy of your own home. But Lemaisa, the world needs to know you. The world needs to learn from you. The world needs to see you as an example. Therefore, I need you to gain fame. You're worried that in as much as you're going to gain fame, you're going to lose shame. Therefore, I give you the bracha, as Rashi says, "V'agad l'shemecha." Even though haderech mema'etes es Hashem, I give you a bracha that even though you're gaining fame, it should not be at the expense of your shame, which means your essence. It said about, there was one of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov was called Pinchas Koritz, the Pinchas of Koritz, a very great man, a Baal Ruach HaKodesh. And on one occasion there was a Yid who later on became known as the Shpoler Zayda. But in his earlier years he was a tzaddik nister. No one knew him. He kept himself, he traveled always incognito. He would come to a shtetl, he would come to a town for Shabbos, he would stand at the back of the shul with all the aniyim, and he would accept an invitation for a Suda on Shabbos, but no one would know that it was anything special. And he came to Koritz, where a Pinchas Koritz was the Rav, was the Rebbe. And he stood there with all the aniyim, came around after Mariv on Friday night to wish good Shabbos. Pinchas Koritz just nodded good Shabbos to each and every one of all those aniyim. And when he saw the Shpoler Zayda, although no one knew who he was, but he had his penetrating insight. And when he saw just the face of the Shpoler Zayda, he said, "Ui, hazah guest, such a special guest in town, you've got to be my guest for Shabbos." He could see that even though fame there wasn't, but shame there was. Years later, by that time, the Shpoler Zayda had become famous as a great and a well-known tzaddik. He came again to Koritz. And this time, he walked past the Pinchas Koritz. Those Koritz said to him, "Who are you?" And he understood the message. What he was saying was, when nobody knows you, then I know who you are. But once you become famous, then it's a question, who are you? That was the depth of the message that he was conveying. As we say here, that's the Rashi and that's the Medrash. Back to the Rambam. The Rambam says that we have on our homes mezuzah. And every time we leave and every time we come back in, we're always passing the mezuzah, and the mezuzah puts us back on track. The idea here is the mezuzah stands between the mezuzah on the main door of the house stands between the Rishus HaRabim and the Rishus HaYochid. In a deeper sense, the bias is Rishus HaYochid. Yochid means where you are yourself. Rishus HaRabim, then you're stepping out to the public eye. You're stepping out into the world. The halacha is Rishus HaRabim only goes until 10 tefachim. Rishus HaYochid is oile ad l'rokia. And the remez in that is, when you're a yochid, as a yochid, that's when you can really go higher and higher and further. But as someone who is only doing things for the rabbin, always looking over his shoulder, what's everybody else thinking about me? What impression am I making? Then he has very limited growth, only until 10 tefachim. That transition between Rishus HaYochid and Rishus HaRabim. When I'm in my own home, then I'm a Baal Shem. When I'm in my own home, not in the public eye, then I can concentrate on being me. Who am I? Where am I holding? When I go out into the public, to the Rishus HaRabim, I've got to make sure that I don't lose the quality of being a Yochid, even though I'm in the Rishus HaRabim. And as they come back in from the Rishus HaRabim into Rishus HaYochid, I've got to realize that I've been in Rishus HaRabim, but that's not me. I'm now entering Rishus HaYochid back to myself. It's always that transition which the mezuzah reminds. That is also what our bias has to be. A Yiddish home is a bias with a mezuzah. Yes, we go in and we go out. We're always going between Shtarab and Rishus HaYochid. But it's got to be the bias. Outside there is the tza'aka gedola. But if we can develop, perfect our bias, then even when we go out, we're not influenced. We retain our yochid even in the world of Rabbin. This is one of the aspects of the Rechush Godol that we can achieve as a result of this pandemic. We've learned to be a yochid. All those times, although we missed davening b'tzibur, but we davened on our own. The question is, here we test ourselves. Can I daven on my own? Can I learn on my own? Can I only learn if it's keneged kulam? Right, you with poetic license, the Talmud Torah, keneged kulam, that everyone can see? Or even when no one sees and no one knows, but there I am committed, because it's real, because it's true. We go down into Mitzrayim, but Hakadosh Baruch Hu is there with us. And in a way, we feel that closeness even more than otherwise. As the Sephorah said. We'll come out with a Rechush Godol. We've discovered ourselves. We've discovered our homes, the power of our homes. And even though we go back to the Beis HaMedrash and back to the Beis HaKnesset, back to yeshiva, back to seminary, but we know that it's all in concentrated form. It's all in the home. That's only an external expression of what the home is. But we've rediscovered the beauty of our homes, the power of our homes, the influence of our homes. And that's what helps us. Even though the world outside, and that was so necessary when they went out to Mitzrayim. The Chassam Sofer says this was the test. Because as you leave Mitzrayim, you're going to have to come to Maimed Har Sinai to Matan Torah. Maimed Har Sinai, the Medrash says, at the time of Maimed Har Sinai, the world outside had nothing to say because we were so involved, and we saw the Ato Horei Saladas, Ki Hashem Hu Elikim Einoy Milvadoi. The Chazal say, Oif Loi Porach, Chamoy Loi Go, Hayam Loi Nizda'azeya, Habriyos Loi Dibru, Elohoyo Ha'oylam Shoisei Kumachrish, V'yotza HaKoyel, Onoichi Hashem Elikecho. And as the Ramban there points out, all the psukim previously are Lashon Rabim in the plural, and now it switches to Lashon Yochid. Onoichi Hashem Elikecho. Before it says, now it's Elikecho B'Lashon Yochid, because Im kol echod ve'echod yedaberu u'lechol echod ve'echod yitzaveh. Hakadosh Baruch Hu is saying, I'm speaking to you as an individual. I'm commanding you as an individual. That, the preparation for that was, work on your individuality, your privacy, your shame, your bias. Be true, be real in your own life. And in that way, you can go and be Mekabel Torah. The Yirotzin, as we said, every Tzorah is rooted in Shibud Mitzrayim. Every Yeshua, every Gula is rooted in Yitzias Mitzrayim. Kimei Tzeisemetz Mitzrayim are enu nifloi. May we be Zoicher in Yitz Hashem that once again we'll be Zoicher to the ultimate Geula, just like them. Will be those, to the Chassam Sofer said, I want you to be amongst those who will be Zoicher Mekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu. The test is tremendous. The world outside beckons. The world outside with its flashing colors, it entices, it almost compels. But we've got to be strong, hold on tight to our homes, for our own sake, for our children's sake. And we'll be zeicher Mirz Hashem to witness the great day when Or Chodosh Al Tzion To'ir v'nizkechu lanu b'mhera la'oiroi. Thank you for listening, and a gute Woche.
Rabbi Miller, a große shkoyach. You have been incredibly inspiring to us. And you have answered a question all of us were having, with Baruch Hashem, the schools function over here, but of course we are much more home. We have this whole Jarchei Kallo home. This Jarchei Kallo has tonight turned nearly 90 homes into 92 Beis Medrash, which is incredible. And we all hope, of course, that this pandemic will be over, Be'ezer Hashem. But you have inspired us how to view our home, how to deal with it, and how to appreciate our home. Thank you so much. Thank you again.
Thank you for joining us. We
hope to see you, to listen to you, and even more to see you in the future.
Yes, I'm looking forward.
Thank you. Now, everybody else, thank you, Rabbi Miller, again. We have now a very special guest, and that is Yisroel Loonstein, all the way from Petach Tikva. Let me just find him on my list. And it was an idea somebody had tonight to invite Yisroel for zemieres. So, Yisroel, please unmute yourself. Where are you? Let's see. Get a review. Yisroel, where are you? Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Yisroel? Hello? Yisroel, unmute, please.
Ja, hoort u mij?
Yes. Welcome.
Ik moest wachten. I had to wait till you unmuted me.
Yeah, okay.
I couldn't do it myself.
Okay. So nice. It's unbelievable. Somebody over here had an idea. Let's finish this beautiful shir with this ruach of Motzei Shabbos. And then I called you and said, for sure, I'll do it. Thank you so much.
For sure. Let me start off in name of everyone to say a big shkoyach to Rav Katz. Again, the COVID, it doesn't make a difference. Rav Katz, shkoyach for, again, a great program of the Jarchei Kallo. As a young child, I remember the Jarchei Kallo, and it's amazing to see. I'm living in Israel these days, but to see that every year you manage to give Amsterdam strength for the whole year. Shkoyach. I have the honor to eat Malav de Malka with my rabbi in Israel. His name is Reb Tzvi Lau, brother of the chief rabbi of Israel, son of the former chief rabbi of Israel, and except for the fact that he's an amazing rabbi, speaks very well. He's also Bal Menagen, and so soon, in 5 minutes, I'm going to be leaving to the Melav de Malke, and he taught us a beautiful song. I think Rav Katz.
Yeah, everybody has it on the chat.
On the chat. So I will sing it. You can read with us. It's a beautiful song. I don't know where it's from, but I'm singing it every week. So I hope you enjoy it. The zemieres is called Adir Oyoim V'Noiro. It goes like this. Adir Oyoim V'Noiro Batzahali Lecho V'Ekro Adonai Eli lo yiro Gedoir pirtzas echo lidogu meyachachlili Adoino ye yoizer li Oy hey nei nato si gosi velishu oscho kivisi Adoino yoiz Yeshua si yoiz Yeshua si Oy zachon ki chapayim choin poisei chenofayim Adoino erech apayim Tufo tochish leyamecho Yehi oleinu kinumecho Adoino yaseh leman shemecho Koinein beis mechoinecho Leharbei tzvoi tzoinecho Adoino b'yoi ponecho מפחד להצילי נעלני לציון גוידש גוירולי אדוני ישמע בקולי סיידו סמוך לנימורים הזוהר נועס הנישורים Adoino yoitze rovim Edei amecho meyazim Tzoinecho miyad goizezim Adoino yoitze chazizim Koreif kehetz nechomo Racheimoim Eloi ruchomo Adoino ish milchomo Shchoin kmeyos beyoleinu Tomidei mechovoi leleinu Adoino malkeinu uyoishiyenu
Beautiful.
Well,
Thank
there's
you.
one more song, one more zemieres of the Motzei Shabbos zemieres. Wait, I will send the text. We know all the famous song of Yehi Achodesh Hazeh. That's a very famous song.
Yeah.
But little people know it starts from it's from one of the zemieres of Motzei Shabbos. It starts with another text, but we'll sing it, and then eventually we'll sing also the Yehi HaChodesh Hazeh. So it starts with B'moitzo v'yom menucho amsei le'amcho revocho shlach dishbilin enocho v'nos yogoin v'anocho ayayo vasu lecho tzuri lekabetz hamefuzori miyad goyach zori asher koro li shucho v'ayayayis doidim tiyoireyei למלא דם אשר שואל רואי סתומך בבוי גויי לספר זורוני דוחו איי קרו יש עליהם נדובו לדוג ולמרבובו יהי השבוע הבא לישוע ולרווחו בס ציון השכולו אשר יהיום גאולו מהירות יבואו לו באימה בונים שמחו ויהי מה יונויס אז יזובון ופדויי אדוני ישובון ומישע ישבון ועצורו נשכחו ויהי נכי עמכו כי יום רחמון יצפצפו עם לא ילמון דבר אדוני ישנמון והקים חורב תוכו ויהי בידידים פלאי תחרץ נגינו סום יצחו במרץ וליצוחו ובלי פרץ יועצת ואין צבוחו. Dan gaat het verder met hoe we het kennen. יהי החודש הזה כנבואת אביכוי זה, וישמע בבית זה כל ששון וכל שמחו, ויחו עוזו כמלא משלויסנו, המתייעש בכל שעשינו, והוא ישלח במעשה ידינו, ברוחו ויצלחו, במועצורי יום גילו, שמחו נוירו עלילו, שלח תשבילי ים סגולו, רווח סוסו ויאנוכו, קויצו עלו ורינו, שפוסנו אוסתרננו, אונו אדוינו יושיענו, אונו אדוינו יצליחנו.
Thank you so
Als-
much.
Als
If
het
you
mooi
want to say
vond,
something, please.
again?
There's somebody and your spouse who would like to say a few words or
No,
something.
wait. If you all found it nice, we'll do next year a Jarchei Kallo of Chazonus, of singing.
Okay.
Leuk idee.
Shavua tov lekulam.
Okay. Hello. So. Okay. Okay. So thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight from wherever you are. Thank you truly again very much for this incredible spirit of Motzei Shabbos, which should give us chizuk and inspiration and love for the rest of the week. So there were so many of us, there were 90 of us tonight. Incredible. Thank you all for joining us. And in Yisroel Hashem, tomorrow morning, I'll go to send you an update. Tomorrow morning, we'll be continuing at 10 o'clock with this great program. Thank you very much. Now, for now, have a great Lava Malka. Have a good Tvach, and see you tomorrow again. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us. And truly, regards to your Rebbe.
Bye.
Kol tov. Bye-bye.